Crack on, Martin.
Okay, good.
So as always, good morning everybody and welcome to Recession Rebellion Day 5, I think it is. Good to see you all here, and for those of you catching up on YouTube, thank you for doing so. This morning, well, as we always say actually, so let's just start with that. We always say Recession Rebellion is here to give you hopefully insightful, provocative and diverse opinions that help you get your day off right and help you think about what you're doing with your business at what is a difficult time for many. So our intention, we'll keep this rolling week on week on week for the next few months, and our intention is to try and just make these sessions as useful as possible. So if you have any feedback for us as to what we can be doing better or what any subjects you'd like to see us cover, just let us know at office@corporatepunk.com or indeed via the chat function during the webinar, and we will take it from there. Just in terms of who you're on with, as always, I'm Phil. I'm one of the founders of Corporate Punk. We're a business that helps other businesses become more innovative, resilient, and responsive. And Martin, say a quick hello.
Hi, so I'm the founder and CEO of Gap in the Matrix. So we help businesses understand why their customers buy and how to get the market to buy more. And we use lots of fun psychology to do that. Thank you, Phil.
And we are joined today by my co-director at Corporate Punk, the inimitable Claire Croft, who is going to be taking us through a really interesting session on leadership. So Claire has had the blessing/curse, asking the question session, working with me for quite some time now. And we've worked together on numerous clients. And I always say about Claire that I in the most positive senses, I never know what is going to happen whenever we're in the room together, because always her brain works in a totally different way to mine, and I've seen time and time again the level of value that can add to clients, both in terms of our working relationship, but also in terms of the stuff that she does as well, without me interfering from the sidelines. So Claire is going to take us through a really interesting session on leadership. Over to you.
Thanks, Phil. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. So what we're actually going to do today is spend a bit of time talking about leading with confidence. The reason we thought this might be a valuable topic to cover is because over the last 10 days or so, we've spoken to so many leaders who are facing huge challenges, and unsurprisingly, a lot of them are feeling really quite unsettled by it, and they're left questioning themselves and their ability to lead their organisations. Now, this is a totally understandable reaction, but really the job to do here through this time is not to react, but to respond to the current situation. Now, they're two very different things. Right now, many people are in the fight, flight or freeze mode. The reptilian brain is being triggered by this situation. But the leadership job is really to move yourself around to the prefrontal cortex, to be able to engage in high quality cognitive processing. Cognitive processing that allows you to create and see options, to have the wherewithal to analyse and interrogate the value of those different options and move to a place where you can respond in a considered and calm way. And we're going to share with you some thoughts today on how you do that. So over the next 15 minutes, we're going to do something which might feel a bit sort of self-indulgent, but actually in our view is absolutely business critical for every leader who's out there. We're going to focus on how you focus on yourselves. Now, contrary to the rest of the narrative that's out there in the world, I mean, if I had £1 for every time I'd heard we're in the same boat over the last few weeks, I'd be a very, very rich woman. And it's an understandable narrative that's emerged from a lot of places, because it's actually a very kind attempt to create a sense of unity, to create a sense of togetherness. The slight problem with it is it's not true. Okay, what we are in is the same ocean. That is to say, we're all in the same context here. We're all facing the same external environment, but we're actually all in our own individual boat trying to navigate it. And we're all having our own very individual reactions to it. And the reason this is unequivocally true is because our brains, the way that they work, are fueled by our personal values, our personal beliefs and attitudes, and actually our experiences through life. So when you bring those multiple facets of how our brains operate together, you cannot expect us to be having anything other than individual thoughts and emotions. So for any leader out there who is trying to suppress that truth, to ignore it, you're actually at risk of failing to fulfill the most important leadership responsibility right now, which is to understand yourself in order to understand how to lead others. You know, I think Phil has talked about in previous webinars with you all about put your own oxygen mask on first, and really paying attention to yourself as a leader right now is that. It is putting on your own oxygen mask. So, point one, let's get comfortable with the fact that we have our own boat right now, and that's what we're trying to navigate. The more that you can commit to focusing on that, the more that you can start to build confidence. But how do you do it? How do you do that practically? Because it's all well and good me saying you're in your own boat, but that could feel quite lonely. So what we're going to share with you is some really practical ways to focus on understanding yourself so that you can build your confidence. So the first thing you've got to do is get curious, right? Think about your emotions. If there's anybody on this call who's going, I'm not having any emotional reactions to this, then you need to check your pulse, because you are clinically dead. It is physically impossible for us as human beings not to be having emotions at any point in any given day. And in a challenging context like this, emotions are big. What people will tend to tell you is that emotions are positive or negative. That's actually not true. Emotions do not have a positive or negative attribution to them. All they are is information. They are trying to give you insight into what's going on for you. And so there's 3 questions to ask yourself. What am I really feeling about this situation? What are my emotions trying to let me know? And what is that telling me I need to do? So if I give you an example, so if you are feeling anxious right now, the feeling of being anxious might be trying to tell you that you are not feeling a strong enough sense of control. And if you're not feeling a strong enough sense of control, that might be pointing to a need to create structure, to put in daily plans so that you can focus on how to navigate yourself through your day. If you can explore your emotions without judgment, and if you can do it on a daily basis, you start to give yourself the potential to be actively in control of your emotions rather than them being in control of you, if that makes sense. The second thing is values, your values. Now, values are simply the principles and beliefs that guide how you want to walk through this life. If you don't know what your values are, then spend some time thinking about when have you been truly happy and when have you been truly pissed off? Because those extreme states tend to give you the insight into when your values are being honoured and when they're being violated. If we get connected to our values, then you can really have a good, strong way to navigate your way through this. It's really interesting for Phil and I just how hard it is right now for people to see beyond today. You know, the job is just to deal with what's in front of you right now. Our very, very strong advice on this is to come up and out of that, actually, and follow the Stephen Covey principle of start with the end in mind. The truth is, we are going to emerge from this current situation. There is going to be a new normal. There is going to be recovery, a new opportunity. Inherently, all of us will look back on this time and reflect on how we were. So to have confidence in the leadership that you are exhibiting right now, go to the end and think about, how do I want to be able to say I led myself and others through this time? And if you can define that through the lens of your values and what matters to you, it will act as a really strong core, a rudder, if you like, to the boat. that will allow you to navigate what is going to be moments of real challenge. You are going to be put under pressure to make difficult choices, difficult decisions. And what you don't want to be doing is swaying with the wind of the loudest voice that is shouting at you at any one time. You want to have that strong sense of what a good approach looks like to you. So again, you know, this is not work that takes long periods of time, but if you can commit the half hour to thinking this through, you build a really, really strong foundation of how you want to move forward. And together, considering your emotions, considering your values, bring the clarity of what you want to ensure you do, what you want to ensure you avoid doing, and what you know you need to stop doing. Because we are all in a triggered state right now, and hopefully transitioning to that more grounded state, you may already have done certain things that don't feel 100% true to you. So you know, by asking that question, you can do a bit of immediate reflection of what do I need to drop down and stop doing. So collectively, these are your foundations for leading with confidence. You know, all of the work that we do with our clients right now is focusing in on what can you control, and you can control how you lead yourself and others by understanding your emotions and understanding your values. Once you've got that clarity, you've got to build on that foundation. And how do we do this? Well, we do the thing that we never normally do. We get clear about our capabilities, okay? Now, this one can be challenging because you're going to have to conduct an honest self-appraisal, okay? But it's critical because you have to be able right now to make the best of yourself. So do the SWOT analysis. Ask yourself, what are my positives? What strengths can I rely on right now? What contribution am I well placed to make? You have, it may not feel like it right now, but you have faced challenges in the past that are similar to this. You know, Phil and I come from the creative background. Creative industry is well versed in the threat of falling over day after day. It only takes the one big client to go for the whole agency to be in fear mode. You will have faced comparable challenges in the past and you have survived them. So how have you navigated challenge in the past? And think about what others say I'm good at. A lot of leaders can find it difficult to be honest with themselves about their own strengths. You know, imposter syndrome does come up for a lot of leaders. So if you find it hard to do it for yourself, think about what others say of you and just be accepting of what they're telling you. Secondly, the watch outs. Anybody out there right now who is putting themselves under the pressure to be able to solve this by themselves is failing to pay attention to the fact that perfection is an impossibility, and therefore it is a misguiding thought to say I should be able to do it all. If you can have the confidence to connect with your watch outs, you're then well placed to work out what to do about that. So just ask yourself, where am I not so strong? What gaps do I have that need to be filled? What might I avoid paying attention to? We all have the things in our work that we avoid. So one example here might be conflict and challenging conversations are likely to bubble up in these challenging situations. If that's something you know you tend to avoid, then you know that's something to invest time and energy addressing. And what could trip you up here? So if you are someone who struggles to ask for help, that's going to trip you up. So what are the strategies you can put in place to overcome that? And then get comfortable with the fact that those things together will complete a picture of you've probably got 75% of what you need to lead yourself and others through this. But you need to consider what are your options. One thing I want to talk to you about just as we move into how can you make best use of your team's talent. Please, whatever you do, do not think of yourself as on your own in this. What people do want from you is the foundations of clarity around where the business should be heading. But do not underestimate the need people who work for you have to contribute, right? You only have to look at the number of people who have signed up as volunteers for the NHS. In moments of crisis like this, people really need a sense of purpose and a sense of potential to have a positive impact to contribute to the solution. Protection of your team is actually a damaging strategy right now. Open the doors up and let them be part of curating the way forward, okay? You're actually going to help them and their confidence if you do that. Think about how to plug the gaps you have. So, for example, going back to if you struggle with challenging conversations, Bob Online. There are a lot of online free courses right now that can give you some helpful tools and tips of how to navigate different conversations. And I would really advocate doing a SWOT analysis of your team. Who can you rely on to do what tasks? In many ways right now, sticking to job roles and job titles is a limiting factor. The job to do is embrace the capabilities that are available to you as a collective. So I hope they give you some really helpful practical questions to be asking of yourself, to give you the clarity of who you are, what matters to you, and what you can do practically to lead yourself and your teams forward in a confident way. The final area I wanted to talk to you about, actually, excuse me, it's a cold, just to be clear. Yeah, sorry, oh, bad cough. So the final area that actually we wanted to cover, because a lot of our clients have talked to us about it, is communication right now and how to communicate through this time, because it's really easy to get focused on the tasks and communicating and briefing out to everybody what they need to do. And of course, that's important. And that's why a lot of people are talking about get clear on what the jobs are to be done, get clear on who's doing what and to what timescales and so on and so forth. There are immensely practical communication needs that need to be fulfilled. However, if we do not connect as human beings right now, we serve to prevent movement from the reptilian brain round into the prefrontal cortex. Your communication to your organisation, to your team, has to step up a gear, okay? And it's challenging to know what to say, what not to say. And a lot of leaders are leaning back from it, but actually opting out of communicating in a higher, more in a sort of meaningful way is not an option. If you genuinely want to infuse confidence and optimism in your teams, we're going to need to lean into it, okay? One of the areas that I have drawn down a lot in my work that has really helped me actually in the way that I engage with clients is from the work from a lady called Judith E. Glaser. She has developed a concept called conversational intelligence, and it points to the fact that we don't pay attention to how we communicate. We communicate all day, every day as businesses, but we don't place any value on preparation for conversation, paying attention to the quality of our conversation. We just get on and do it. And I thought it might serve as a helpful framework here, because also to our view that you can't just focus about the what needs to be done, you have to focus on communication that really connects people. We thought we'd share it with you today. So it's called the trust framework. And really, it's your framework for planning and preparing how to communicate with others. So you can communicate with more confidence if you follow the idea that your communication is there to do one job and one job only. It's to engender trust. Trust in the people who work for you, that they can look to you as somebody who is going to be in service of them through this time. So the first thing is transparency, a difficult one to judge, I admit, but be as open as you can possibly be about the state of the business, the options that you are considering, the choices that you are faced with, and the risks that you are assessing. The more that people understand the context right now, the calmer they will feel. In the absence of this openness, people will do what people are programmed to do, and they will create their own meaning. And you only have to look at the world context here. The narrative leans towards the negative, okay? So they will invariably create a negative narrative which suppresses their ability to work with confidence. The second thing is relationships. I have no words for how challenging it is for people to be navigating work and life right now. What people need to know is that you see them beyond the tasks that you are asking them to do. So find out what's going on for them. Find out how working from home is really working for them. Get that two-way dialogue going, letting them know that you are there in support of them, and actually actively encouraging them to be in support of one another as well. Again, it's not all on you to achieve this and do this. Moving on to understanding, making it clear to everybody that the job here to do is to be open and honest about what's going on in operations, what's going on in marketing, what's going on in finance. Now is the time more than ever to step into each other's shoes and to be able to have a genuine understanding and a commitment to understanding the many different dynamics that are going to be at play within the business. Because if you can create that understanding, you can have the confidence that the direction you set, the ideas that you put forward as ways to move forward will be the right way. If you do not make time to understand what is going on across the business, then you will likely come up with solutions that are in service of part of it, but not all of it. And then shared success. I think it's fair to say that most organisations are set up to have competing goals and objectives across their departments. Right now, egos, personal agendas have to be put aside. You have to work as a collective. And as the leader, if you can set that standard, if you can set that expectation, you will be giving your business the best chance to move forward and achieve together. So make the time to give your view on what a shared success looks like here. And that can be at a macro level and a micro level. And then finally, truth telling. Now this one will really be influenced by your current culture. So many organizations have Phil and I talk about this a lot, we embrace failure right up until the point of failure, and then we are a blame culture. People have to know right now that they're not expected to get it right and get it right first time. These are unprecedented times. I so hate that word, and I will have to talk to myself later for using it, but they are, okay, they are. What you cannot afford to have is an organisation that feels it cannot say when things are not going right. So if you can really openly permit people to raise the red flag and create those conditions where there is truly honest, open dialogue going on, you'll be well placed to navigate what's ahead. So you can achieve confidence in your communication if you plan to communicate in ways that engender this quality of trust. So, in summary, the job to do here in order to feel you can lead with confidence is to pay attention to your emotions and accept them as useful information. Let the judgment go. Let your values be the map. They are the things that will allow you to navigate in a way that is true to who you are, and you will emerge true to yourself by the end of this. Play to your strengths and let your team fill the gaps. And communicate in a way that builds trust, and prize your communication actually above all else. And that, I hope, is a set of practical insights into how you can build your confidence in your leadership through the next 3, 6, 9, 10, 12 months.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing all that. And tremendously helpful for me to sit here and listen to it. And I hope it's been tremendously helpful for everybody else, both on the webinar this morning, also catching it later on YouTube. I have a question, then we'll go to questions from the audience. I suppose my question is a really simple one that underpins all of this, which is why is it that so many of us find leadership of ourselves so difficult?
I think there's a couple of reasons. I think we have a culture in work life right now where it's the output that's valued more than how you got there. And so people become very task orientated, just get the job done. I think, I mean, I don't know about the people on the webinar here, but a lot of my clients, you know, C-suite clients, haven't had a performance review in years. So they've experienced it as being needy, actually, to ask for feedback. So they don't even have a sense of where they're strong, where they're not. And then the final thing is, it's actually really bloody hard to hold a mirror up to yourself, right? People have to feel they're good enough, and they should feel they're good enough. Looking inwards can be an unsettling thing for people to do. But if you can accept that there is no such thing as perfection, if you can accept that you will always be a work in progress, then looking inside is not quite such a frightening thing to do. It's just a research exercise.
Great stuff. Martin, let's come to you and have some questions from the audience this morning.
Great, thank you, Claire, first of all. That was wonderful. So the first, well, not a comment, but sorry, not a question, but a comment. I particularly like the phrase you used, embrace capabilities available as a collective. Thanks, Claire. So that's a nice piece of feedback. Okay. This question comes from Richard. So how can leaders become more comfortable in this volatile and uncertain context over a long period?
I think you get comfortable with the idea that it won't be completely comfortable, right? What I would say is, though, it hasn't been comfortable for years. I think the real thing to do here is to draw down on knowing you have faced challenge in the past. You have navigated challenge and difficulty and uncertainty in the past. Get really connected to what you know you are capable of achieving when faced with that, and get it written down, right? Just having it in your head alone is great, but if you can get it written down on paper, almost like your My Change CV, and you are truly connected to knowing what you are capable of, that can build comfort. And I strongly believe values are critical here, because you need an anchor. You need to be grounded in who you are and what matters to you, so that you don't flip and flop. But I cannot tell you to get comfortable, because I don't believe there's going to be 100% comfortable. What there is knowing yourself well enough to give yourself best chance to navigate it.
Great. The next one is, are there any tips to help senior leaders shift from thinking about survival towards thriving?
Yeah, start with the end in mind. Really make that time to go, where do we want to be by the end of this? And that is not something you have to do on your own. You know, I think your leadership team really are well placed to work with you on this. They will be seeing things that you're not seeing. That's a really important point I really should have made earlier. Kind of being aware that you will have blind spots here is vital. You will ignore certain signals. You will be not paying attention to certain opportunities. So bring the team into that and start with the end in mind, and get our definition of good. You know, just a sense of a North Star is how you move towards survival here and thriving.
Wonderful. A couple more comments. Love your wisdom, Claire. Claire, thank you. Enlightening in a very humbling way. This is like a power boost just for you. For your day, Claire, apart from the attention.
It's my birthday. You're making my birthday.
Wonderful. Any other questions, Phil? Sorry, I think you're on mute, Phil.
You're on mute, Phil.
No, I think that's probably all we've got time for this morning. The only thing I just wanted to add, as I keep mentioning on this webinar, we have a YouTube channel, Recession Rebellion. You can find the links on LinkedIn, and if you don't get the chance to see these, do hit subscribe, because they're all up there and you can go back to them as many times as you like. But that's all we have time for today.
Yeah, so thanks very much for everybody joining. We really thank Claire as a special guest, especially on our birthday. It's absolutely wonderful. And join us tomorrow, 9 a.m. We'll be doing Mind Hacks, the psychological techniques that power innovation. So a little bit of problem solving, how to assemble teams, and how to get out of your own way. So thanks, and have a great day, everybody.
Take care.